Hey, how's it going, guys? Travis here. Gonna be working on my 2014 Ram 2500 Cummins diesel. We're gonna be doing a 3-inch BDS radius suspension lift. I purchased this truck about 6 months ago, and whoever had it before me had put a 5-inch rough country lift on there. So we're gonna be taking all that stuff off and installing the new BDS lift. I got the kit in. We'll be going through the instructions, pretty much word for word. So if you guys plan to do this on your own, just follow their instructions. Don't do anything that I've said, right? Because I'm not a mechanic, I'm not a certified mechanic. I'm just kind of doing this on my own. So what I'm going to be doing is a BDS suspension lift. I've got the Synergy drag link installed. We'll be putting a factory pitman arm back on, because the one that was on that lift had a drop pitman arm. Kind of had a lot of play in the steering wheel. We'll be doing the steering stabilizer, and I'll be showing you guys some bushings that go into the intermediate shaft where your steering column comes down. There's a joint and there's a pin in there that gets kind of some play. We'll show you guys that, and let's check it out. Alright guys, here we are. Got the truck jacked up. As you can see here, I've got these old school jack stands, and I actually had to purchase a railroad tie from Lowe's, cut that thing up with a chainsaw so I could actually get some reach here to get this darn truck up, get some clearance. Alright, so here we go. First step, the track bar. That is actually, this is the BDS one, so the stock one does not look like this, but here's the bolt right here where it's gonna come out. This is it right here, okay? So bust this one loose before you actually lift the truck, okay? So once you raise it up and get the wheels off, then you're gonna come over to the axle side. And that is this guy right here, okay? And you can see up on this end, there's the lower mount. This is the one right here. Now, this has a locking tab on the nut on the bottom side, which is right here. Okay, so getting that thing out can be a pain in the ass, and I'll tell you right now that this one I just got from the dealer, a whole new setup, because I had to cut this thing off. I'll tell you, I put over 1,000 foot-pounds of torque on this thing for 2 days. Tried breaker bars, a 4-foot cheater bar, you name it, man. I used heat, everything. That thing would not come off. So I ended up just cutting it, and there's my terrible blue paint job, and there's still some spots that I need to touch up. Alright, here's the next step here. Is taking off the factory sway bar links, which these are not the factory ones. These are the BDS ones. I've just already removed them and put these on here. Sorry about the lighting, jeez. Okay, so I don't know how it's suggested to install these Zerks, but I have them facing the rear of the vehicle. That way dirt and debris doesn't fly up and get stuck up in them. Okay, so these are pretty simple to take out. It actually says in the instructions that you might have to cut some of this down a little bit on the actual sway bar to fit into these brackets. I did not have to cut any of that stuff off. Everything went in pretty well. Now, the instructions are not super clear on where all this hardware goes. There's just kind of some pictures and diagrams, but they're not that great. So I'll let you get a good look here at where I've got everything, because I could not find any of this information on YouTube, and I really like to see videos. It just makes things easier if the instructions are not the greatest. Not to knock BDS, because obviously I bought their lift kit, right? Alright, let's move on to the next thing here. Brake line. I couldn't tell you how the brake line was before, to be honest. I don't know. I do know that these are already mounted on the top, and I've got plenty of clearance here. So everything looks good there. Yeah, so the drag link, I believe the OEM one is actually on the top side, if I remember correctly. But this is the Synergy drag link here. Okay, so I wanted to show you this pitman arm here. This is actually the pitman arm that came with the rough country lift right here. That is for, they say, for a 3 to 5 inch drop, or I'm sorry, 3 to 5 inch lift kit. So it's kind of got a drop on it, and it's upside down how that drag link connects to this pitman arm. I actually ended up taking this pitman arm off and putting a factory one, you know, back on. So you got to use, you know, a ball joint puller. You got to get that wheel turned over to the right. That way you can get that off if you have a drop one on there and you plan to put an OEM one back on. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. I ended up having to take this down to the shop and have them do this whole deal for me. But yeah, just make sure you get this drag link loose. It makes doing the lift a little bit easier. That way you can kind of move things around, and you can get to that bolt right down here. Also, if you take the drag link off the bottom there, it makes things a lot easier. All right, moving on to the shocks here. You're gonna break these loose. This nut on the inside right here is actually supposed to have a locking tab, and you would see it sticking out on the bottom, but darn this light. This one did not have a locking tab, thanks to whoever worked on the truck before. So I actually had to use a pair of needle nose vice grips. You can kind of see where I scraped it up a tiny bit. Get up in there and hold that thing tight and break that thing loose, which was a major pain in my ass, but you know what, it's worked. On the driver's side, you can kind of see the stem, that shiny part right there. You can't really get to it easily from here without cutting, which I did not want to do. So I actually went up over through the hood, you know, through the engine bay there to access it, and with about a 6 inch extension, it worked out pretty well. So I'll go ahead and show you that real quick. All right, guys. In the engine bay here, to get to that strut, let's see if you can see it. Yeah, you can see the top of it right down there. It's got a line going right over it. There, you can see it right there behind that line. And getting in here, I'm telling you, I just use a 6 inch extension, and I think I use a deep socket on there. The BDS ones I think are 3/4 inch. I don't remember what the OEM. Oh, you know what? Those are rough country, darn struts are on there, but it was fairly easy to get in there. Just make sure when you're installing them, when you put them back on, the new ones, you're gonna get that bulge right here. Okay, so the axle is actually drooping here, so whenever you put pressure, this should start to bulge and put pressure back up here, but I don't want to bulge out too much on this side. So when we drop it back down, we'll take another look and see if we need to tighten them up anymore or not, but that should be good. All right, so here, moving on to the radius arms. The rough country ones over there. These things proved to be absolute hell for me. There was no really order that I decided to take these off in. I don't know if anybody has any better idea than I, but this one here on the driver's side took me a full day to get off, hitting it with the impact. These two ended up coming off fairly well. This is that caster bolt right here. Sorry about all these birds, guys. This is pretty important that you get these put in correctly. The other side, I think we ended up having to cut one off on this side. Yeah, we did. That was a casserole that we cut off, which I don't have yet. We're still waiting on the dealer. We actually ordered the wrong one, so we're without one there, and that one will be in tomorrow. Okay. So this one came out. This one did not, and this one came out. So when you're putting these back in, I put this one in first, then pivoted the whole arm up, and I put this one in, same on that side, and it worked out really well. And BDS recommended to have these centered. You can see the other one over there. The washer I just have in the middle. if it's gonna focus. There you go. So I'm just gonna mirror them, and we'll take it in for alignment whenever I get everything squared away. Okay. This is where that hole is gonna end up, right back here from that template that you end up cutting out and lining up with with everything in here. So that this bump stop, or not bump stop, I'm sorry, this retainer here, factory, I think usually sits about right here. So when you do your hole, I think it's a 1/2 inch. I just used one of those step drill bits. It looks like a cone, and it worked out perfect. So this is actually rotated this way just a little bit, and that's what that's gonna look like right there. All right, guys, here's the bump stops. If we can get a good look at them. Not really. Here it is right here. Too much light in the back, but you literally just knock them out with the hammer or whatever. The OEM ones, the stock ones are smaller, right? So mine had the rough countries. Pop those guys out, put these new fancy looking ones in here. I actually used a block here. It was about here, and then put a crowbar through it and pivoted to push it up inside, because it's kind of hard to get in there and hit it with anything from the bottom. But that worked out really well. It did it on both sides, no problem. So once you get all this stuff replaced and installed, the track bar is pretty much the last thing. You'll get that hardware back in on the bottom, leave it loose, and then whenever you drop the truck, you're gonna put the top one back in. Okay guys, here we are in the back of the truck. This is the rear driver side. So you're gonna get a light here. Here are the new rear sway bar links installed. Get the light here for you. This is the part for the rear track bar, and BDS's little lift there to raise the track bar up a little bit. Try to get some close-ups here so y'all can see what parts go where, but it's kind of difficult to see. Alright, it's tough to see. You really just gotta check the instructions for how to install all this stuff back here, which can be troubling at times, but whenever I took the rough country lift off, the spacers here were actually spacers up on top that were secured in there, so that was a little bit different. Whenever you lift the truck up and drop this axle, everything will come out real easy. It's nice to have a buddy to line everything up for you though, whenever you're putting it back together. Alright, here is the rear struts. It's kind of tough to see in here. You see the top of the strut, the stem up here. This is that tab. If you can see that tab there that's sticking out. Yeah, there you go. That tab. It's right there on the back of that nut. Dang. This thing doesn't want to catch it that well. Sorry about that. Anyway, that's what you're going to have to drill out, and that's how that tab is going to look whenever you get those installed. Alright, here is the steering column into that intermediate shaft, and there's that pin right there. That space around it is where those bushings are going to go, and that'll tighten up your steering a lot. I actually had some plastic ones, but you'll never guess, they fell out. I didn't tape them in or secure them in anyhow, but I had ordered those EMF ones, so they actually arrived in the mail yesterday, so I'll go get them from the mailbox and see if we can't get them today. I'll show you here turning the steering wheel what it looks like. You see how that, look at that play. Yeah, that's way too much play, right? So we'll get those installed today and show you what they look like afterward. Okay, I got those bushings from the mailbox. I actually ordered these from CJC Off-Road. These guys got these here pretty quick. I think it was less than a week that from the date that I ordered them to the date that they arrived. These might be aluminum. That's them. They'll go around that little pin in there and tighten up that steering. I imagine I'm gonna have to put something around it to keep them from falling out. So let's get after it. Okay, like a glove, man. Those things went in there no problem. Obviously they don't just slip right in with, you know, they're not finger tight. I used a C-clamp. Put this side in, kind of press it in there with that clamp, put the other one in there. I didn't even turn the steering wheel over. I could just feel it. Got the clamp on there just right. They're both in there, perfect. We'll find out what they suggest to secure them in there, but I'm probably just gonna use some pretty strong tape to hold them in there. I don't think that they're gonna come out even without tape or anything, but don't do anything I do or say. How about that? Okay. I think everything that I plan to do to this truck is done, and then some. So I'll go over it from the top with you guys. My plans, the reasons, what I actually ended up doing, and what is the difference. So we put the 3-inch BDS lift kit from the 5-inch rough country lift. Major pain in my ass. Lots of cutting off stuff. We did the drag link, huge difference. The Synergy drag link is absolutely incredible. What else have we done? We did the steering stabilizer, made a huge difference. With the bump steer especially. Steering wheel super tight. We got those bushings from EMF delivered by CJC. That tightened up the steering wheel a whole lot. It just feels amazing. One thing that I did encounter was when I installed the front track bar sent from BDS, I had a lot of clicking and weird sounds coming up from the front, and I couldn't figure it out initially. Well, I ended up taking it off, and I don't know if it's because it's a two-piece design or what, but I measured the stock one and they're the exact same length that they recommend. So I ended up putting the stock one back in, and all that creaking and strange sounds and whatnot, they're completely gone. So I don't have the BDS track bar in the front in there. It's still got the stock one. Haven't had any issues. It's been driving absolutely straight. It couldn't be any better, you know, now anyway, after going through all this, right? So make sure you guys consult with your local truck shop, man. We got a shop here, it's right down the road from my house, called 4-Wheel Specialties. Those guys were an absolute major help to me. There's a few things I couldn't figure out, you know, or I couldn't do myself. Those guys were great, man. They helped me out, they drove my truck around, you know, gave me some tips and advice, and everything's worked out really well. So, also, if you guys order a BDS lift, they do free freight to your local dealer. So if you have a dealer there, wherever you live, have it sent to them. It saved me, I don't know how much. It was probably like a couple $100. I might be wrong, but I think it was pretty expensive to have it shipped to my house. So, anywho, we're gonna wrap it up, man. If you guys got any questions, feel free to message me. Sorry about my crazy video. I'm not the greatest at it, but I hope that it helps you guys in some way, and yeah. See you guys later.